Hi everyone, I'm Matt DeFanis, broker-owner of RE/MAX Realty Associates with offices throughout the Champaign County area here in central Illinois. In the last few years, I've become an avid student of Black history. This started mostly by studying the history of housing discrimination. As a realtor, I have a natural tendency to examine issues through the lens of real estate. An examination of Black history through that real estate lens reveals some heartbreaking and often overlooked stories. Being from Illinois, I honor Black History Month with some history from Chicago. Summer 1919 in Chicago became known as Red Summer. Between July 27th and August 3rd, race-based violence left 38 people dead and 537 injured. Black Chicagoans accounted for 23 of the 38 deaths. The violence was touched off when Eugene Williams, a Black 17-year-old, was swimming in Lake Michigan. While in the water, Williams crossed an imaginary color line that divided the water reserved for white swimmers from the water where Black swimmers were permitted. White youth gang members started throwing rocks at Eugene Miller. He drowned after one hit him in the head. This photograph shows the crowd at the lakefront in the immediate aftermath of Williams' drowning. Violence erupted shortly thereafter. This photograph, captured by an Associated Press photographer, shows a victim stoned and bludgeoned under the corner of a house by a white mob. This Chicago History Museum image shows armed National Guardsmen who were called in to quell the violence, questioning a Black man on the street. This image from the Bettman Archive shows white children cheering outside a Black residence that they had just set on fire. And in this Bettman Archive photo, a Black couple is seen moving from their home, escorted by a white police officer. The earliest instances of Black street gangs were formed here as a neighborhood defense measure in response to the roving white mobs that were looking to inflict harm on Chicago's Black neighborhoods and the residents. In the aftermath of the riots, a Chicago Commission on Race Relations was assembled. It issued a report hundreds of pages long, first published in September 1922. Here's an excerpt from pages 194 and 195 of that report relating to the Black population and real estate depreciation. No single factor has complicated the relations of Negroes and white Chicago more than the widespread feeling of white people that the presence of Negroes in a neighborhood is a cause of serious depreciation of property values. To the extent that people feel that their financial interests are affected, antagonisms are accentuated. When a Negro family moves into a block in which all other families are white, the neighbors object. This objection may express itself in studied aloofness, in taunts, warnings, slurs, threats, or even the bombing of their homes. White neighbors who can do so are likely to move away at the first opportunity. Assessors and appraisers, in determining the value of the property, take account of this general dislike of the presence or proximity of Negroes. It matters little what type of citizens the Negro family may represent, what their wealth or standing in the community is, or that their motive in moving into a predominant white neighborhood is to secure better living conditions. Their appearance is a signal of depreciation. So it happens that when a Negro family moves into a block, most of the white neighbors show resentment toward both the Negro family and the owner or agent who rents or sells the property. Whites owning homes in the neighborhood become much exercised by fear of loss both of money and of neighborhood exclusiveness and desirability. The Negro suffers under the realization that for reasons which he cannot control, he is considered undesirable and a menace to property values. Wherever Negroes have moved in Chicago, this odium has attached to their presence, the belief that they destroy property values wherever they go is now commonly taken as a valid explanation of any unfriendliness toward the entire group. Just a few years after these words were published, the federal government's Homeowners Loan Corporation, with the help of realtors and appraisers, further cemented color lines with the creation of the now infamous redlining maps. These are maps that graded neighborhoods for real estate financing eligibility, largely on the basis of the racial composition of the residents. Neighborhoods with a high percentage of black residents were shaded in red and were virtually shut off from affordable mainstream financing. This led to an inevitable downward spiral of neighborhood values and deterioration. Even for black residents with the financial means to afford good quality housing elsewhere, racially restrictive covenants, which were often a requirement for government-backed financing, shut them out. The end result was a long-term perpetuation of segregated housing and drastically diminished real estate values in black neighborhoods. More than 101 years after Red Summer in Chicago, the Washington Post published a feature story called "Being Black Lowers the Value of My Home: The Legacy of Redlining." Along those same lines, in August of 2020, the New York Times published "Discrimination in Appraisals," where a Jacksonville, Florida couple had a second appraisal right after a previous appraisal that valued their home some 40% higher after one of the homeowners, who's black, removed all signs of blackness from the house. The redlining hangover effect helps to account for the persistent gap in homeownership between black and white families, which remains frustratingly similar in many places to where it was before fair housing even became the law of the land back in 1968. Recent data from the Federal Reserve shows that the net worth of the average homeowner is more than 40 times that of the average renter. This is why the Dearborn Realtist Board, the black real estate trade group in Chicago, of which I'm a proud member, does not merely host home ownership fairs. No, when the Realtists do something, it is an intergenerational wealth-building event, recognizing that home ownership dramatically alters one's financial trajectory for generations to come. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you'll join me in finding ways to help bridge the continued gaps that divide Black America from white America.